medical misinformation is everywhere. Dr. Mitch is here for straight talk and to give you the truth.
Why are Americans having so much trouble losing weight? Well, it certainly doesn't take a genius to look around and see that Americans and obesity is a real problem, and the subsequent diseases that follow due to this excess weight are also an obvious healthcare problem for our practitioners like yourself. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch, and thank you so much for watching this podcast. But let's take a look at this, a little bit deeper dive, so that you know when someone comes in where you might want to go with your lab tests or with your treatment. And it looks that Americans and obesity is a serious problem to pretty much all healthcare type of areas in the country. And so this deep dive to the potential problems may explain other than diet. Obviously, I'm not going to talk of diet, of course, but I'm going to talk about some other issues that may be something that's germane to what you're thinking and some that may not. Obviously, sedentary lifestyle with the advent of technology, evolving work culture, many Americans spend a significant part of their day sitting at a desk, and they're not burning as many calories as they should. And this lack of physical activity can lead to weight gain. One of the other things is that Americans are so stressed. Just watch the news, just think about things, worried about their kids, worried about everything under the sun. And many people turn to food as a source of comfort. And also when you're worried, a massive amount of cortisol is reduced, which is not only give you a poor sleep, which could add to weight, but itself, the cortisol is inflammatory if there's too much and add to weight as well. And so inflammation is one of the things that would make sense for you to look at and deal with in these patients. And of course, fat is already inflamed tissue. So looking at C-reactive protein, high sensitive, and a sedimentation rate will help you make that decision. Well, also, people in this country have a lack of time, so preparing healthy meals requires time. I know my daughter, one of them basically brings in food every night. I don't think she even knows where her pots are. Well, that availability and accessibility of unhealthy foods is everywhere. And so it's easy to call up and say, hey, deliver me this or deliver me that. Socioeconomic status also has its place too. Research indicates that people with lower income who belong to lower socioeconomic groups have higher rates of obesity. Now, some people may simply not know how to adequately prepare a nutritious low-calorie meal or understand which foods are truly healthy. And they don't understand food labeling either. The idea of abundance that can lead to overeating during celebrations. Go to anyone's house for a birthday or an anniversary. There is so much food. And of course, there's always the sweet table and there's always cookies, cakes, etc. It's easy to grab. And while you're talking and socializing, just keep eating that way as well. For many of you, it's obvious that hypothyroidism, looking at the TSH, T3 free, T4 free, the TPO, and of course the antithyroid globulin, don't forget the reverse T3, will give you a very good handle on whether this particular person has a problem when it comes to the thyroid. And of course, low thyroid, being a master gland, is going to lead to increased weight gain. Cushing's disease can be a tendency to gain weight. We talked about that a little before, especially around the midsection and upper back. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, can increase the risk of obesity in women. And of course, the ovarian and testicular failure that comes along with either premature or, just typical menopause or andropause need to be addressed because these hormones allow for intercellular, one cell to the next, talking to each other. And one unknown area too is heart failure, while obesity increases the risk of heart failure because for every particularly for every person that's obese, for every pound, it's an extra mile of vasculature. And some of the treatments for heart disease themselves, including reduced physical activity, can also result in weight gain. And of course, the bane of our existence, insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, needs to be addressed very carefully through the things that you do. One other is that there are certain types of cancer, specifically cancer treatments, can sometimes result in weight changes. The weight loss is more common feature because of what the cancer does. It can lend itself, the treatments, to gaining weight too. And that's something just to put in your vocabulary and thought process. And last but certainly not least is depression. People that are depressed or anxious typically go one way or the other. In certain cases, you eat more and a lot and put weight on, and others lose weight because they don't eat. I hope this concept was helpful. It'll give you an idea where to look in these patients and not just say, oh, you're overweight. Here's what we normally give and prescribe an injection or something. That is not the way to approach these disorders. The way to that's scientific and well written about and certainly makes sense from a clinician standpoint of view is to figure out what and how maybe one or two or even three things overlapping are causing the weight loss so that you can produce an optimal protocol for these patients. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Mitch Ghen.